Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode in our Rise of the Moors series. And today we're going to be doing our annual season review, this time of the 2016-17 season, where the Moors did the double, winning the Vanarama National League and the FA Trophy. It was a phenomenal season for the Moors, and I'll be honest, I didn't really know where the squad stacked up against the rest of the league at the beginning of the season, but it was another season where we absolutely dominated non-league football. So here's the final league table. It was Wrexham that won in the playoff final, so they're going to be joining us in League 2 next year in league football. But we actually ended the season 23 points clear of all of our rivals. 33 wins, 10 draws, and just the 3 losses in the 46 games. A goal difference of plus 50, 85 goals scored for us. Now I think that's a phenomenal achievement from the Moors. So here are the results from the season. And we put together a good few unbeaten sequences throughout the year. We didn't lose a game until the first loss against Dover in October. But up until that point, we'd already secured some really quality results. The home win against Crawley at the start of the season, the first game of the league season, was a standout performance from us, a 3-0 win at home against what were then favourites for the title. We also managed to secure really good draws against some of the bigger teams throughout the whole year. And as you can see there, we didn't drop points against Eastleigh, Wrexham. We then went on to beat Grimsby, and then we secured draws against Bristol Rovers and Tranmere all before Christmas. And as you know, yes, we had to grind out results against some of these teams, but we managed to come out on top of a few quiet games. So games where we weren't particularly playing fantastically, or we didn't really turn up, but we still managed to pick up some decent results. And it was the second half of the season where we put together some really good sequences of results. It was only the Forest Green result, the 6-2 loss away in November, that stands out as the worst performance of the year, but the results around that game actually were really good. Immediately before, we put together a fantastic result, winning 4-0 at home to Southport. And on the back of that game, we picked up further points, drawing at Crawley, beating Eastleigh away, and then Wrexham at home. So overall, I think we've done really well this year, and we've been really successful in non-league over the last couple of years, beating the points record for both the Vanarama National North and the Vanarama National League in successive years. And not to forget our fantastic FA Trophy Cup run. We were really lucky again in the domestic cup draws, both in the FA Cup and in the FA Trophy. And in fairness, the journey to the FA Trophy final only needed us to overcome Wrexham, and that was a home tie as well. I think the 4th round and the semi-final draw were both favourable. And what a fantastic final we played out against Tranmere, beating them towards the end of extra time. So here are the final season stats. So shown are the statistics overall, both cup and league competitions combined. And as you can see, the standout performers, Ben Glasgow and Zvetan Filipov. So Ben Glasgow was voted player of the season for the Moors, a 7.84 average rating for him, closely followed by Filipov, who's had a fantastic second half of the year, 7.71 for him, and other really good contributions, Charlie Cooper, Rowan Lieberd, Thano and Bywater, all really good performances throughout the year. And just looking at the league then, the usual suspects at the top, average rating, Ben Glasgow, Filipov and Charlie Cooper. And as far as the goal contribution goes, Rowan Lieberd with 24 league goals this year, Kieran Bywater with 17, Nick Hamalainen also in double figures, he got 15, and John Paul Pittman, only the 8 goals from him. But as you can see, only 15 appearances as well as 8 off the bench. So his reduced game time obviously meant that his contribution on the goal tally front wasn't going to be as good. And actually, John Paul Pittman, he actually missed 27% of the season through injury this year. Assists then, well, Ben Glasgow picked up 14 assists. So really good performance from him marauding up the right wing. That full-back overlap has worked really well for us in both the last couple of years. Nico Hamalainen, he got 9 assists, and then a few from other central midfielders, Zvetan Filipov, Charlie Cooper, Kieran Bywater also from the wing, and then John Paul Pittman with 4. Player of the Match awards, 10 for Glasgow, 7 for Rowan Liebert, 5 for Filipov, and then a cluster of other players around 3 or 4. And pass completion rates have also been much better this season. Jack Haddon with 85%, Filipov, Pittman, Glasgow and Fano all above 80% as well. So that's really encouraging, especially for a possession-based tactic that we've been utilising. I've been particularly happy with Jack Haddon's performances this year. And as far as key passes goes, Ben Glasgow, you can just see 233 key passes from him over the year, 133 from Filipov, so 100 less, and then all of Liebert, Bywater and Cooper above 100. And we've been much better on the discipline front this year as well. And I think that was because we've stopped using the ball-winning midfielder role in the centre of the park for us this year. And obviously that was a role that we were using for Jack Byrne last year, and he picked up so many bookings in that season. But this year, Scott Tancock with 9 yellow cards, so he was the only person to pick up a suspension this year, and nobody else managed to get above 5. Just the 1 red card, and that was for Noah Chesmain. So overall, pretty encouraging discipline this season. And if we have a look at where those statistics of those players stack up against the rest of the league, as far as the average rating goes, we actually filled out 3 of the top 5 on average rating, and that was for Glasgow, 7.77, so player of the season for the Vanarama National League for him. Zvetan Filipov in 2nd place and Charlie Cooper in 4th, who, until the last few games of the season, was actually just edging Samir Nabi for that 3rd place. And that also translated into player of the match. Ben Glasgow with 10 for the season. Rowan Liebert actually got 7, he was in 3rd place, and that was because of his goal scoring exploits. So he picked up 24 goals, 1 goal every 115 minutes for him, which is actually the best return out of all of those players in the top few ranks there. He was only 4 goals behind James Constable, who actually won the Golden Boot for this year. But Liebert didn't rank in the top 8 for shots on target, but Kieran Bywater and Nico Hammerlane both did, both above 50% shots on target. And for players who are both in double figures, I think that's a really good return. So we've touched on how fantastic Ben Glasgow has been this year, so 233 key passes for him. He was just edged by Danny Whitehead at Macclesfield, but his pass completion rate of 82% and his cross completion rate of 12%. Overall, I'd say that Ben Glasgow's performances were actually better. And Glasgow nearly picked up the assist award as well, only 1 behind joint 1st place for Rob Sinclair and Sam Deering. 14 assists for Ben Glasgow, pretty good performances from him throughout the year. And obviously we only conceded 35 throughout the year, so Luke Simpson, he picked up the Golden Glove Award, 22 clean sheets from 46 appearances for him. He only conceded 0.76 goals per game, so a really good performance from us this year. And actually, something that really surprised me, I didn't expect us to be so solid at the back this year. I knew we had some good creative players. I was thoroughly impressed from our defence this year. So looking at the team stats then, Wrexham and Eastleigh both scored 94. We were only 9 goals behind them, but obviously they've got playoff goals involved in that as well. Our shot accuracy was the best throughout the year though, 43%, so only just edging a couple of the other teams. We didn't feature in the cross completion top 8, and although we were utilising the overlap on the wings, we were all about the patient build-up around the edge of the box. And that's more reflected in our pass completion and average rating statistics. 78% pass completion rate on average is pretty good. There are many games which we were over 80%, and as we saw in the player statistics, our midfield trio throughout the year have normally been above 80% pass completion rate as well. So 78% pass completion rate, an average possession of 57%. So just expanding on that passes completed statistic, so over 20,000 for us. So about 2,000 clear of 2nd place Tranmere there. But actually a lot more passes than many of the other teams in this division. And that just reaffirms my belief in this possession-based tactic. Whilst chances created possibly haven't been as high as other teams throughout the year, our ability to control games and our ability to retain the possession, retain the ball and deny opposition chances have been second to none actually. And we've done all that on one of the smallest budgets of the year. Yes, we spent a little bit of money on players this year, but the top teams up there, all with salaries over £1 million, we are way down with a fraction of that. £267,000 we spent on salary last year. And to win the league on the back of that is really impressive. So we spent about 20 grand on players last year. We brought Rowan Liebert in, who's been absolutely phenomenal for us, and Scott Tancock came in as well on a fee for about 5k. And he's been really impressive in the centre of defence as well. We supplemented our additions this team, lots of free transfers, but also a few good loans as well. Ollie Lee came in to play in the centre of the park at the start of the season. Howalainen on the left wing has been phenomenal all year, and a few other loanees had a really good season for us as well whilst they were there. Joe Worrell and Noah Chesmain in defence really sorted out our defensive issues going into the second half of the season. But the second half of the season was really the Andy Thano and Zvetan Filipov show, both who we got in on a free transfer. So that's really impressive, I think. I think the player I've been least impressed by was actually John Paul Pittman. So he managed to bag 12 goals for us this year, 8 in the league and 4 in the cups. But like I said before, he was injured for 27% of the season. And for a player that we're paying nearly £800 a week, it's just not good enough, I don't think. It's a shame that we couldn't play 2 strikers throughout the year, not in the system that we were using. And because of the form of Rowan Liebert, we just haven't utilised Pittman as much as we perhaps should have. I am disappointed he didn't get into double figures for his goals, and he is contracted to the end of next season, so we've got a decision to make over the close season as to whether or not we can move this chap on or not. And as far as moving players on, as you can see, we lost most of the original Solihull Moors squad this season. Lots of players at the start of the year left. All were part of our National North League season last year, but many which wouldn't have made the cut in the National League this season. And then we also moved on Adam Walker and Callum Gittings towards the end of the year, as well as selling our younger winger Matthew Fletcher for 8k to Cheltenham. I've been thoroughly impressed with our tactic again this year. I'm a firm believer in a more of a patient, possession-based tactic, and it seems to have worked really well in both of the non-league seasons that we've done so far. Yes, our lone striker, has looked a little isolated at times, and he has been short on supporting in a few occasions, but having an inside forward and players on the attacking duty in the middle of the park does seem to sort that isolation issue out. And as far as our fullbacks goes, our attacking exploits down the right wing with Ben Glasgow has been phenomenal this year. Using him on the overlap has created so many goals for us, and that, as you can see, has been reflected in his form as well as the number of assists and the number of key passes that he has made. And next season I'm hoping we can replicate that, both for Ben Glasgow, but also if we can find a similar sort of player that can come in at the left back role who can do a similar role there for us. So we touched on it there with our hopes for our left back position for next season. I just wanted to explain to you my thoughts on the squad for next year, where we are and where we need to make additions to become hopefully a competitive side in League 2 football next year. Now, being realistic, next season is going to be incredibly tough. And like I've mentioned in previous episodes, I haven't played Football Manager for a few years prior to FM16. And in the past, I've completely relied on the free transfer market in the off-season. And in previous iterations of Football Manager, I've had really good success in essentially recreating or rebuilding an entire squad each off-season that will be competitive for the following year. My initial thoughts so far for this game and my thoughts on the off-seasons, the 2 off-seasons we've had so far, is that picking up quality free transfers has been really tough and a lot harder this year. So we need to be really clever and really careful when we go transfer shopping this off-season. The other thing I'm concerned about as well is that the Solihull Moors attraction level just doesn't seem to be there. I think we're going to struggle to find really quality players to convince them to come join us. And the other worry is our really small budget. So we had a quarter of the budget of most of the teams this season. We are going to be a tiny fraction of the budgets of many of the bigger teams in the League 2 football. So we need to make sure we can pick up quality players on the cheap with small wages. We're going to have to raid the loan market again in order to supplement our team to make us competitive. So as far as the squad goes this year, obviously we've got a few loanees here. Noah Chesmain, Joe Worrell and Conor O'Grady in defence all came in on loan. So they'll be leaving in a few days at the end of this season. And personally, I don't think I'm going to be extending the loan deal of any of those players. I don't think they're good enough for league football. We've also got Nico Hamalainen and Jack Haddon on loan. So Nico Hamalainen's come from QPR and he's had a fantastic season for us. So there's 17 league goals, I think. But similarly, I'm not convinced just at the moment that the young Nico Hamalainen is probably got the quality required for league football just yet. But he's been a really good player for us, and Jack Haddon has been quality for us in the centre of the park. 85% pass completion rate for him. Not too many assists and not too many goals, but actually his competitive work in the middle of the park has been really good. Now I can't extend his loan deal because he's coming to the end of his contract with MK Dons, but I'm going to be desperately trying to secure him on a permanent contract with us. As far as potential outgoings, well, we've got Eric Odiambo and Jack Byrne, as well as Kieran Bywater. They're all coming towards the end of their contracts with the Moors. Personally, I think it's the end of the road for Jack Byrne and Eric Odiambo, so they're probably going to be released at the end of the season. And as far as Kieran Bywater goes, well, he scored 17 goals for us in the league this year, and he's been a really good player for us. And I think he's got 20 or so goals now in the 50 appearances he's made for Solihull Moors in the last season and a half that he's been with us. He is a quality non-league footballer. My worry is he's not going to be much more than a backup in league football next year. And although he's got a little bit of potential left in him, I just can't imagine that's going to happen over the off-season. But I think he's done enough at the club for us to retain him. Other outgoing players that we're going to look to try and ship out of the team, Anthony Barry just hasn't been good enough for us actually. We brought him in to do a job in the centre of the park. Regretfully, I signed him to a 2-year deal at the start of this year, so he's got 12 months left, and again, he's not going to be anything more than a backup. So hopefully we can move him on in the off-season to get him off our wage bill. And Jamal Fifield as well. He came in, he played left back for us at the start of the season when we needed him. And again, he's been a really good player for us. But throughout the second half of the season, we were using Noah Chesmain, so I think Jamal Fifield we're going to try and move on as well. So worryingly, there's not too many players left from the original Solihull Moors squad. So that's a real shame actually, and Jack Byrne is probably the better of that squad. Could have done a job for us next year, but realistically again, it won't be anything more than a backup for us, I don't think. So it's a shame that we've lost all of our remaining Moors members from the current squad, but it just shows how much we've developed as a team. But you'll also notice that once we've removed those players, once we get rid of the loanees, and once we ship out a few of the backup players for us, we're not left with that many players actually. We're going to have a really small squad next year if we're not too careful. So there's a lot of players that need to come in. Having a look at the movement between the leagues this season, as you can see, Man City won the English Premier League. Sheffield Wednesday, the Villa and Derby dropping out of the EPL. They were going to be replaced by QPR, Brighton and Blackburn getting promoted into the Premier League. QPR as winners of the Championship, but it was Bradford City, Peterborough and MK Dons moving the other way. Sheffield United, they won the Sky Bet League 1 and were going to be promoted also with Barnsley and Rotherham into the Championship. And it's Burton, Luton, Notts County and Southend dropping down into the Sky Bet League 2. So they're the teams that will be playing this season. And promoted out of League 2 was Fleetwood, Wycombe, Leyton Orient and Crewe. Morecambe and Cheltenham moving the other way. So Cheltenham only the 1 year in league football before dropping out again. And as you can see there, we won the Vanarama National League, obviously. We're going to be joined by Wrexham in League 2. They won the playoff final, and it was Lincoln, Macclesfield, Aldershot and Alfreton dropping out in the end. Now, as far as the cups go, Chelsea won the FA Cup in the end, so we were knocked out in the third round by the eventual winners, so that's okay. Man United, the League Cup, Chelsea with the Community Shield, Cambridge with the Johnson's Paint Trophy. We obviously won the FA Trophy with that fantastic victory over Tranmere. And it was actually Chelsea who ended up winning the Champions League as well, so a really good season for them this year. And in the off-season, because we're going into league football, a couple of really big milestones occurred. Firstly, we became a professional team, so that's going to really help matters actually. And secondly, Damson Park, our stadium, is having to be expanded just for league requirements. So we've moved into the Kidderminster ground at Agborough, and the other things that are really exciting is our expansion of our scouting range. So obviously at the moment, our scouts have been restricted to UK and Ireland, and now we're going to be able to send our scouts out to anywhere in Europe, which is fantastic. And a professional status and league football will also bring with it an increase in the number of both our scouts and our coaches. So we're going to be able to expand our scouting range, hopefully pick up some really quality players in the future, but also we're going to be able to improve upon our already impressive coaching capabilities. So an exciting time for the Moors then. It's been a fantastic season for us. We did the double, the FA Trophy and the Vanarama National League win, but it's only going to get more exciting now. We're now in league football. This is where the story really begins. And when we come back in the next episode, it'll be our first game of League 2, our first game in league football. So thanks for watching again, guys. I hope you've enjoyed our season review of the 2016-2017 series. And when we come back, it will be league football for the Moors. See you next time. Cheers.